conservative, constitutional. It's the Andrew Cooperrider Show, keeping you informed on what's going on right here in Kentucky.
And welcome, everybody, to a very special couple of episodes here on the Andrew Cooperrider Show. Now, I reached out to the Barr, the Morris, and the Cameron campaigns and asked them to answer a couple of questions for us here. They were given a time limit of sorts to answer these questions in, and they submitted them via video. So, over these next two episodes, next 2 weeks, we'll be covering some pretty interesting topics with them answering. Now, keep in mind, these questions were submitted to them weeks ago. They probably recorded these videos weeks ago before you're listening, so if something seems off on the timeline or something like that, or it doesn't seem pertinent to what's going on, well, that is why that may be the case. This was recorded a few weeks ago, but I'm thankful to all three campaigns for their willingness to contribute here. Also, another thing here, as you're listening to the answers, you'll hear a little bit of background music. The campaigns did not put that in. I put that in. It just seemed a little uncanny with how sterile the environment was that they were recording in, because naturally you want it to be quiet when you record, but there wasn't a lot of extra background noise. And so it seemed a little uncanny, a little odd. So we put just a little bit of background music in there. Hopefully it doesn't detract from anything. Now, for those of you that are Michael Farris fans, you're wondering about him, you can check out that episode we did with Michael Farris. Sat down, talked to him for a length of time there, about a month or so ago, month and a half or so ago. So I encourage you to check that out if you want to learn about that candidate. For right now, we focused on these three candidates here. Interesting questions. You're going to hear them answering questions about Ukraine, Israel, the national debt, why they're running, Mitch McConnell, all things that I think are of interest to you all. So starting us off, without further ado, our first question actually will be about deportation. Now, this is not the order that I submitted these questions into them, so none of them really relied on any other answers and other questions to clarify anything, but just so you know, this isn't the order that they got sent them. I had to edit up the order a little bit just to make it work with the timing for you guys on radio and TV, to make it work with the segment clock. So the first question here is about illegal immigration. The question was, to what lengths should America go to deport illegal immigrants? Should America deport all illegal immigrants, or should some be allowed to stay to fulfill needed jobs? The order that I'll be playing these videos on was randomly chosen every single question. So it wasn't just randomly chosen at the beginning and then we keep that order. Every single question, it was randomly chosen using a random name chooser offline. So starting us off here, we have Cameron answering question about what length should we go to deport illegal immigrants. Here we go. Take a listen.
It's as simple as it can be. We've got to deport people that are not here legally. And I support the administration's efforts to do so. I think it's important if you say you have laws that you follow them, and others know that as well. And that's my posture when it comes to immigration. Look, as the Attorney General, I saw that when you have a porous southern border, what happens is that fentanyl makes its way across that southern border and hurts people in our communities and causes overdoses. And so we've got to have a secure, strong southern border. That's why I'm a proponent of the wall, because again, it helps protect our homeland. And then if you're here illegally, you shouldn't be able, to stay here while there are folks that are trying to get in here legally. And I think most common sense Americans believe in a system that ensures that people are following our laws. And that'll be a priority for me in the United States Senate.
And there you go. That was Cameron's answer. Now we're going to go to Barr. Once again, the question was, to what lengths should America go to deport illegal immigrants? Should America deport all illegal immigrants, or should some be allowed to stay to fulfill needed jobs? Let's hear what Barr has to say. Andy Barr.
Immigration, deportations, and enforcement. In this term of Congress, I voted to fund the largest deportation operation in American history. I voted for almost $200 billion to fund not only completion of the border wall infrastructure, but also to surge resources to Customs and Border Protection and to Immigration and Customs Enforcement to support that largest deportation effort in U.S. history. We saw over 12 million illegal immigrants pour into our country, a literal invasion of our country under President Biden's open borders policy that put our country at risk, that invited cartels and drug dealers and human traffickers and criminals into our country, which was largely responsible for the fentanyl crisis that resulted in over 100,000 fatalities in our country. Kentucky suffered from the third most significant drug overdose mortality rate in the country because of the open borders policy. And so I have been consistent. I don't just talk about border security and enforcement. I have delivered for this president and for the people of Kentucky and the people of this country. During President Trump's first term, I voted with President Trump every step of the way to fund the border wall, to fund deportation, to put into place the Remain in Mexico policy, to support the president's policies, to end catch and release. And when that tough border security bill failed, it didn't have enough votes, I voted with President Trump again on an effort to get the votes to secure the border. And then when that second bill failed, I led the effort in court defending President Trump's authority under defense appropriations, under military construction appropriations that Congress had already deployed, because it is a national security issue, defending his authority in court, his legal authority to build the wall using those congressional appropriations. During the Biden administration, I voted to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas for his negligence and lying to Congress about opening up the southern border, failing to enforce immigration law, and then lying about it. And then in this term of Congress, like I said before, I worked very hard on the reconciliation bill to support the president's border security policies. Look, there's a lot of people who talk tough about the border, but I have a record of being one of the toughest on border security and immigration enforcement. And that's why in my campaigns for Congress, the Customs and Border Patrol Council have endorsed me. I've been to the southern border. I've been to the Laredo sector. I've shook hands with the Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council and our brave men and women who protect our country. And I'm so glad to be working side by side with this president to finally secure our border.
All right, that was Barr's answer. Now we have Nate Morris up next. Once again, the question was, to what lengths should America go to deport illegal immigrants? Should America deport all illegal immigrants? Or should some be allowed to stay to fulfill needed jobs? Here is Nate Morris's response.
My position on immigration is very simple. If you're illegal, you go back. No carve-outs, no exceptions, no special circumstances. You go back. You're breaking the law, and you don't deserve to be here. You're an illegal person, an illegal citizen in this country. I've called for a full moratorium in this campaign of no immigration, no new immigration, until we deport every single one of the 20 million illegals that Joe Biden let invade our country. They've all got to go back. We are absolutely full as a country. Our hospitals, our schools, our government agencies, they are all being overrun with illegals. And there's two groups of people in this country that like illegals. The Democrats like illegals so they can cheat and steal elections, and they can work to build a permanently blue majority across the United States. And Rhino Republicans like illegals because they want cheap labor. They want to pay 50 cents on the dollar for their workers or for their help. And both of these situations are absolutely unacceptable and un-American. Western civilization is on the line. My friend Charlie Kirk used to say this all the time. We don't have a border, we don't have a country. And America is the last bastion of Western civilization, and we got one shot to fix it, and that's why all these illegals, they've got to go back. And there is no exceptions. Mitch McConnell, Andy Barr, they voted to keep our borders wide open for years. Andy Barr took a page out of Hillary Clinton's playbook and called me a nativist for this position. This is what Hillary Clinton said in the same breath of basket of deplorables. That tells you everything you need to know about who needs to be the next senator from Kentucky. We cannot send a senator to Washington that will allow any illegals to stay in this country, to come into this country, and invade this country, period.
Okay, so that's the three responses that we got coming up after this break here. We'll ask some questions about Rand versus McConnell. What have they done well? And then also we'll ask about legal immigration. What's their policy on legal immigration? We'll have that after this short break. And welcome back to the Andrew Cooperrider Show. If you're just joining us here, we are doing a video form of sorts where Daniel Cameron, Andy Barr, and Nate Morris all running to fulfill McConnell's seat there in the Senate. We sent them over some questions, and they were able to respond with videos. They had a few weeks to put these videos together and submit them over. So this is their responses that they've carefully put together. First, we're going to start off here. They are running to replace McConnell, of course, but we'd like to get some idea of what kind of senator will they be? What do they like? What do they dislike? So we asked them a question here, asking them about what do you think McConnell and Rand Paul have done well as senators? What do you think McConnell and Rand Paul have done well as senators? First up, we have Nate Morris.
While I disagree with Senator Paul's vote on the big, beautiful bill, I do appreciate him always fighting to end these globalist wars once and for all. I appreciate the fact that he continues to stand up against these warrantless surveillance of average Americans. And he always pushes to audit the Fed and to hold Jerome Powell accountable once and for all. You know, Senator McConnell and I do agree on one thing, that it was definitely time for him to retire. Although I would say should have been 10 years ago.
That was Nate Morris's response. Once again, the question is, what do you think McConnell and Rand Paul have done well as senators? Next up, we have Andy Barr.
I believe Senator McConnell deserves considerable credit for working with President Trump to transform the federal judiciary and make sure that our federal courts are populated with originalists, men and women who understand the role of the judiciary, which is to interpret and apply the law in accordance with the original meaning of the Constitution, not to encroach upon the role of the political branches of the Congress or the president in trying to make the law or execute the law. And Senator McConnell deserves credit for working with President Trump to make sure that we have a majority conservative Supreme Court. Senator Rand Paul deserves immense credit for working on the critical issue of fiscal responsibility, of cutting spending, of holding unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats like Dr. Fauci accountable for authoritarian measures taken during COVID, exposing corruption, and holding bureaucrats accountable. So I think both of our senators deserve credit on different matters, and look forward to working to continue that effort in terms of making sure we have a conservative federal judiciary and making sure we hold unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats accountable and promoting policies of fiscal responsibility.
All right, that was Barr's response there. The question, once again, what do you think McConnell and Rand Paul have done well as senators? This was the response from Daniel Cameron.
Senator Paul obviously has been a strong voice for personal liberty and freedom, and has been a staunch advocate for our Bill of Rights. And he's been principled on those positions. And I've certainly been grateful for his courage and the things that he exposed related to COVID and continues to expose related to COVID. He and obviously, you can't say Rand Paul without saying Kelly Paul, right? They are a dynamic duo. And so I've been grateful for both of them in their leadership on personal liberty and freedom, and then their willingness to lean in and push back against the narrative that was coming out of Fauci and others related to COVID. They did so at a really critical time. And so really appreciative of them on that front. And then they, continue to be big advocates for our children. and the opportunities that they have to learn and to have the chance to get an education that fits their needs. I think that's really important. We've got to have an educational system that number one priority is the need of our children. And the need of our children is best known by parents and who are with them when they go to bed at night and understand just how their kids are wired and how they work. And so it's critical to have an education system that prioritizes our children's needs. And so I've been grateful for Senator Paul and Kelly Paul really leaning in on providing choice in our education system. Certainly been grateful for them on that front. When it comes to Senator McConnell, it's obvious that his decision to not move forward with the Merrick Garland nomination to the United States Supreme Court was a historic one. And because of it, we now have several Supreme Court justices that believe in a constitution and laws that aren't always or ever changing, that words have meaning, and that you shouldn't try to change that meaning simply to reflect sort of the progressive ideology. Because of that strong stance he made, we've got, again, Amy Coney Barrett, we've got Justice Kavanaugh. There are so many that are now in the United States Supreme Court simply because of that decision that he made. And it was a big one, and he should be applauded for it.
All right, now we're moving to legal immigration. Last segment we had illegal immigration. Let's talk about legal immigration here. The question was, some Republican voters have expressed concerns about legal immigration policies, pointing to the numbers coming from third world countries and worries about a lack of integration into American culture. What do you think our legal immigration policy should be? First up, Andy Barr.
Legal immigration policy. Look, we are a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws. And so our legal immigration policy should focus on law-abiding, fully vetted individuals who love this country, who can add to our economy, who are part of the American dream, who want to be part of the American dream, who can provide skills, who can enhance American competitiveness. And most importantly, the touchstone of my views on what should be the basis of legal immigration policy in the United States is the question of whether or not the immigrant who is coming to this country, who is fully vetted, who is not a criminal, not a member of a cartel, not a terrorist, who does not pose a threat to national security or homeland security, whether they are someone who, when they put their hand over their heart and they recite the Pledge of Allegiance, whether they mean it, whether they love this country, and whether they believe in this country, that's what we want in legal immigrants. And I'll just say, I think the President of the United States agrees with that 100%. He married one of those legal immigrants, Melania Trump, who does love this country. Melania Trump is exactly the type of person that we should have as part of our legal immigration system in this country.
Okay, that was Barr's response. Once again, the question was, some Republican voters have expressed concerns about legal immigration policies, pointing to the numbers coming from the third world countries and worries about a lack of integration into American culture. What do you think our legal immigration policy should be? This year from Daniel Cameron's response.
Look, when it comes to our legal immigration system, I think we have to, place a importance on, if you will, on ensuring that when people make it into this country, that they're assimilating into our culture and not the other way around. I think it's important that, you see, frankly, some people that have, immigrated into this country that are bad-mouthing the United States. And of course, we understand the privileges of our Constitution and the ability to speak freely. But when you make your way here and you make a decision to speak poorly of the United States, we've got to be mindful of, when people are coming into this country, that they're coming in for the right reasons, and that we're getting folks that are talented and are going to, again, the interests of the United States should be focusing on how we can make this country the best possible version of itself. And that's how I think our immigration system should work. It should be based on merit. It should be based on ensuring people that come here are coming here for the right reasons. Again, these are common sense ideas. And, I think a part of a legal immigration system is also making sure that we're putting enough funding behind CBP and ICE, so that we can make sure that folks are being expelled from this country that aren't supposed to be here or aren't even coming across our border. So to have a healthy legal immigration system, you got to make sure you're very diligent on illegals that are trying to make it into the United States. And again, this will be a priority for me. I think majority of people that come into this country legally, coming here for the right reasons. I want to ensure that, our system acknowledges that and recognizes the importance of merit within our system, and ensuring that people, when they come here, aren't here to bash or denigrate the United States, but want to add to the greatness of this country.
All right, there was Daniel Cameron. Now we have Nate Morris responding to the question. Some Republican voters have expressed concerns about legal immigration policies, pointing to the numbers coming from third world countries and worries about a lack of integration into American culture. What do you think our legal immigration policy should be? Here is Nate Morris.
Well, first and foremost, I've called for a full moratorium on any new immigration coming into our country until we deport every single one of the 20 million illegals that have invaded our country. Folks, we're absolutely full. And during the years of Joe Biden and previous administrations, we've been invaded as a country. And the people that come to our country legally, they need to be vetted. We need to know where they came from. They need to speak our language, which is English. They need to be of our culture, and they need to be able to share our values and live our values. I mean, for goodness sakes, we have a member of Congress that's more loyal to Somalia than she is to the United States. She married her brother to get into the United States, a form of immigration fraud. And for this reason, she needs to go back where she came from. And we have many millions of cases like this all over the United States. Folks, the other thing is we see people in the business world today that abuse our visa system and that basically make some of these workers indentured servants. And that's absolutely wrong. We cannot have that anymore. My opponent, Andy Barr, he wanted this to continue to happen in corporate America. He wanted millions of illegals to be naturalized into our country. Folks, I am zero exceptions, zero tolerance. And that's what must happen to protect our country, to protect our values, to protect our way of life and our culture, and most importantly, to make sure for the next 250 years of our country, our culture and Western civilization stays intact, not just for our children, for our grandchildren, but for all of the world and Western civilization as a whole.
All right, when we come back, we'll be digging into Ukraine. That's right, asking a little bit about foreign policy. We'll be back in a few short minutes. And you're back on the Andrew Cooperrider Show. We're doing a little bit of a video forum here where we are going through some questions that was sent over to the Nate Morris, Daniel Cameron, and Andy Barr campaigns. We sent this over to them a few weeks ago. They responded with video messages. And so we're just going through those questions and playing them for you. Coming up here in this segment, we have a question regarding Ukraine. So the question here is regarding the Ukrainian conflict. What role do you think America should play, and what are America's interests in Ukraine? First up, answering that question, we have Nate Morris.
We should not have sent a single cent of taxpayer money to that fight in the Ukraine. While my opponent, Andy Barr, was working with Mitch McConnell to back up the truck and write a blank check for the Ukraine, He should have been standing strong against this war. Thank goodness that President Trump is working with the Ukraine and making them pay for their own weapons and their own supplies. And I think that this is a great example that leadership matters. And because of President Trump, the world is a much safer place to live. And this war would have never happened if he'd been president. And I think that's why we've got to have strong leaders in Washington. We've got to have leaders that the rest of the world fears. And we cannot give in to the demands of these globalists that want to take us to war at all costs, like Andy Barr and Mitch McConnell. And we got to stand strong against that.
All right, that was Nate Morris's response. Next up, we have Daniel Cameron. And the question here is, regarding the Ukrainian conflict, what role do you think America should play, and what are America's interests in Ukraine? Answering that here for us now, Daniel Cameron.
You know, when it comes to Ukraine, I've said pretty emphatically that we've got to stop sending them a blank check. It's important that what President Trump is doing right now related to hopefully brokering some sort of peace is the right direction. I think of the steps that President Nixon made to bring about substantive change at that point with China. President Trump, in a whole facet of areas, is doing the exact same thing and trying to bring peace to this globe. And so when it comes to Ukraine, again, no blank check. We gotta quit spending billions of dollars there when there are people hurting here in our own communities. I mean, Andrew, I've said this to you before, that when you had flooding in eastern Kentucky and tornadoes in west Kentucky, and you saw people that were getting pennies on the dollar from FEMA, but we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, that I think confounds people and confuses them on how is that possible when we are tax-paying citizens of this country. And so we've got to focus on our homeland, and I've made that abundantly clear. And again, I'm grateful to President Trump, who is trying to be the peace president and in these foreign entanglements so that we can focus on things at home. And that is my posture as well, and will continue to be my posture. And I think there's a whole host of Republicans, conservatives that are coming to Washington that are of that mindset that we've got to focus on the homeland, and that'll certainly be my priority in the United States Senate.
All right, that was Daniel Cameron's response. We now have Andy Barr, of course, to respond. The question is, regarding the Ukrainian conflict, what role do you think America should play, and what are America's interests in Ukraine? Here is Andy Barr's response.
Ukraine, what role should America play? Look, first of all, you have to understand that Russia's further invasion of Ukraine several years ago would have never happened under President Trump. The invasion occurred under the failed leadership of President Biden, who invited aggression with his weak and chaotic withdrawal and retreat from Afghanistan, his unilateral removal of sanctions of Nord Stream 2, and his failure to respond when Russian troops began to assemble in Belarus and on the border with Ukraine. So what is the United States' interest in Ukraine? Number one, you have to understand the United States is a member of NATO. And under Article 5 of that treaty, of that NATO treaty, an attack on one is an attack on all. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, so we don't have heightened level of interest in Ukraine as we do in, say, Poland or Romania or other Eastern European or the Baltic countries like Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia that are directly threatened by Putin's aggression as well. But the United States does have an interest in preventing World War III or an invasion of NATO countries, because in that case we would be treaty bound to spend far more than what we have spent with Ukraine. So deterrence and making sure that that doesn't happen would have a huge return on investment in preventing the expenditures of lives and treasure in the defense of our NATO allies. Secondly, the United States has a direct interest in peace through strength. which is the idea that if we were to allow Ukraine to be defeated and overrun by Russia, that would send a very dangerous signal to Iran, to North Korea, and certainly to Beijing, and invite potentially a broader aggression against those allies and partners who embrace democracy and freedom, especially Taiwan, where the United States has a direct interest. We do not want to send a signal that it's okay for China to invade Taiwan. Taiwan controls and produces 90% of the world's advanced semiconductors, which directly affects the economic prosperity of the American people. President Trump recognizes this, and I support the way President Trump has handled this, not supporting endless wars, not supporting neoconservative policies, but instead supporting peace through strength. And that is why I support President Trump's approach to burden sharing by NATO, encouraging our NATO allies to share in the burden, to increase their defense spending as a percentage of gross domestic product to 5%, reimposing tough sanctions, closing the energy loophole from the Biden administration, and putting secondary sanctions on those who purchase Russian energy, including China and India, and making sure that we stop capital flows into Moscow that are funding the war machine, negotiating a successful mineral rights deal that would put American interests in Ukraine to not only bolster deterrence, to have an American presence in Ukraine on mineral rights, but also to reimburse the American taxpayer for the treasure that has already been invested. I was proud in the Foreign Affairs Committee to support a Marjorie Taylor Greene amendment to funding of Ukraine to make sure that we're auditing all of the spending that has happened to defend Ukraine, and I continue to support audits of that. But I also support reimbursing the taxpayer 100% with this mineral rights deal. And finally, what I will say is that the spending that has happened, it's important and in the interest of the United States that it be paid for by the Europeans. And that's what President Trump has negotiated, funding the material that's being purchased by American defense contractors that go to the Ukrainians, but paid for by the Europeans. And I think President Trump has handled this very well. And President Trump is tired of Putin, and he recognizes that the potential of providing capabilities to the Ukrainians to reach inside with Tomahawk missiles, reach inside of Russia, is something that is under consideration by this administration. I credit President Trump for restoring deterrence, and he's got Putin's attention with what he has done with Israel and Gaza and by obliterating Iran's nuclear program. This is what peace through strength looks like.
All right, when we come back, we'll ask them, why are they running for the Senate in the first place? Once again, this was not the order that these questions were submitted to them in. We did change it up, of course, a little bit just to make it work with the segment clock that we need for radio. But looking forward to hearing their responses, as I'm sure you are. We'll be back in a few short minutes. And you're back here on this final segment of the Andrew Cooperrider Show, very special episodes where we are doing a video forum with Nate Morris, Andy Barr, and Daniel Cameron, all running for that Kentucky Senate seat, this race to replace McConnell. And our final question for today, now make sure you tune back into next week because we will continue with this. We have more questions that we asked them. So first, why are you running? Why are you running for this office and this seat? To be honest, this was actually two questions. Some campaigns respond to them in one question. So we just kind of put that together. So why are you running for the Senate in the first place? First up, we have Daniel Cameron.
All right. Why did I first get involved in politics? Well, I got, my parents were both and are still very strong conservatives. And I think I've shared this with you before. In 92, I was convinced that George H.W. Bush was going to win re-election. I really didn't have a reason to think otherwise, because in my house, that was sort of the gospel that he was going to win. So I was shocked when Bill Clinton won. And so I've always been around conservative ideology and viewpoints. My parents owned a small business. It was a coffee shop in E-Town that was called Zach's Coffee. And my parents humored me by allowing me to make coffee at way too early of an age. But it was a good experience. Got to see a cross-section of the community that came in there. And I think at an early age, I was always interested in the community and how you could do things to just make it better. And that doesn't, mean politics. That just means, what are you doing as a citizen to make your community better? It wasn't until I went to a private law firm that I came to the judgment in I think December of 2018 that I might throw my name in the hat for Attorney General. I had worked with the law enforcement community and had worked with folks in the legal community just by my background, and they felt very strongly that I should give it an opportunity to run for Attorney General, and I did, and kind of the rest is history. But my parents weren't. First Lincoln dinner I went to I went to one when I was right before I was going to law school. I had a buddy who invited me to one, so I didn't grow up going or attending a lot of Lincoln dinners. After that one, the next one I went to was when I was running for Attorney General. And so again, I didn't have sort of a political pedigree or background, but I knew that I wanted to be helpful on what I deemed at that time in 2019, the public safety challenge of our lifetime, which has been the drug epidemic. And I was proud to be able to stand alongside a lot of folks across this Commonwealth and help bring in nearly $900 million into the state to fight the drug epidemic while I was the Attorney General. Certainly was an honor to be able to do that. And I've decided to jump into this race for the United States Senate, as I've shared with your viewers and listeners before. It's because of our two boys. We got another one on the way now. We've got a boy coming in February of next year, but very much care deeply about the future of this country, that it continues to be based on merit and opportunity and is not riven by division based on the left's sort of view that this world should be broken into with terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion. I tell people all the time that we don't need an America that's built on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We need an America that's built on merit, excellence, intelligence, and integrity. And so I want to be a voice for common sense and, again, merit and opportunity, and for our law enforcement community, and for energy and coal and natural gas. I mean, I firmly believe that we've got an opportunity to lead here in Kentucky with the industries of tomorrow, simply because we have an abundance of resources, namely coal and natural gas, that can help fuel the technologies of tomorrow. And we've got plenty of capacity, or can provide plenty of capacity for these technologies that require a lot of energy. So again, I want to stand up for the values of the men, women, children of this Commonwealth, and that's my hope, and it'd be an honor to do so.
All right, that was Cameron's response to why he's running for the Senate. Next up, we have Nate Morse responding to the question, why are you running for Senate? Why are you involved with politics? Let's hear what he has to say.
I got in this race because career politicians have been running our country off a cliff. We have a senior senator today that's been in there for over 40 years. And I saw the two people that were running for this office, and I said, if I don't get in, we're going to get more of the same of what we've had the last 40 years with him. And we cannot afford that as a Commonwealth and as a country. And we look around and look at all the damage that career politicians have done to our country. We look at things like Ukraine, backing up the truck for Ukraine over and over and over again. We look at our border, which I've called for a full moratorium on any new immigration coming into our country until we deport every single one of the 20 million illegals that Joe Biden let invade our country. It was folks like our senior senator and the career politicians that let this stuff happen. And then I think about all the spending. Joe Biden's spending bill, who voted for that? It was career politicians. And this is why Kentuckians can't go to the grocery store and buy groceries, because of all that inflation caused from spending. And I am running today as an outsider, as a businessman, somebody who doesn't need the job, doesn't need the money. And we got to have a complete change with this seat. We got to have a complete change in our country. And we got to go back to what our founders intended, which was to bring citizen legislators, take them to Washington and have them represent the people. And I've also said I'm only going to serve 2 terms. And during those 2 terms, I know we can get so much accomplished, including pushing for a balanced budget. Folks, I've had enough, like you. And I see my 2 opponents that just a couple years ago, they came in on their hands and knees, asking me for money, asking me for support. And now they're saying everything they can to try to destroy me because of the threat I pose to the establishment in Washington, and ultimately to the Mitch McConnell machine that has set Kentucky and our country back. I saw the 2 candidates that were in this race, and they're nothing but puppets for Mitch McConnell. And the idea of getting another Mitch McConnell for the next 40 years was absolutely and unequivocally unacceptable to me. We had to do something. And as an outsider, somebody who's never been in politics, I feel like I didn't have a choice. I think about my son who was just born a couple months ago. I look at him, I look at the future of this country. We've got to have people that come from the outside. We've got to have people that don't owe the political establishment anything and that are willing to fight for President Trump's agenda. You know, we've got a senior senator that opposed his tariffs, that opposed President Trump's political picks in his cabinet. We've got a senior senator that called President Trump stupid and called him all kinds of names and put all kinds of things on him, including lawfare. And that is absolutely unacceptable. We've got to have somebody in this seat who's going to go to Washington and fight for what Kentuckians send them to Washington to do, period. And that includes making sure that we can push for a balanced budget, staying out of these globalist wars that we can't win, and most importantly, making sure that every illegal goes back where they came from, period. That's what I want to get done as your United States Senator, and that's why I'm running.
All right, that was Nate Morris's response. Finally, of course, we have Barr responding to the question, why are you running for office? Why are you running for the Senate versus something else? I mean, remember, Barr, of course, was congressman. He could have ran for re-election, chose not to do so, ran for Senate instead. Let's hear what he has to say.
Well, the reason why I'm running for U.S. Senate is I love my children, I love the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and I love the United States of America. And I think I can make a positive difference for all of them, my kids, the Commonwealth, and our country. And there's no other reason to run for public office than to feel called to make a difference. And I am a proven conservative leader who has made a difference in Congress. I know this job. I know how to do this job, and I know how to do this job effectively for our cause of freedom, fiscal responsibility, limited government, free enterprise, and a strong national defense to make a better, brighter, more prosperous future for my children and the future generations of this country. This is not just a privilege, but it's a responsibility. I understand that. And it has been a privilege of a lifetime to represent the 6th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives, to fight for the families, the businesses, the individuals, the hopes, aspirations, dreams, deal with the challenges of the people of Central Kentucky. It would be an even greater privilege to get a chance to do that for the entirety of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I believe that I am the most qualified, experienced candidate in the race. I have a proven record of getting it done, of defeating the agenda of the socialists and protecting and advancing the cause of freedom for the people of Kentucky and this country.
All right, y'all, that's what we got time for today on the Andrew Cooperrider Show. Make sure you tune back in next week. We will be asking them about why should we vote for you, McConnell's approval rating, the national debt, and, of course, the hot topic of Israel. Very exciting stuff. Make sure you tune back in here on the Andrew Cooperrider Show. If you miss it, if you're watching on radio or TV, you're worried about missing that, just go ahead and check out theandrewshow.com. Once again, that's theandrewshow.com. You can see all the places where you can listen to this show. But we'll see you next week.